one all full service business management platform. So keeping that in mind, a little bit of an introduction. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Andrew Lenti. I'm the managing director at Presto PDCA, previously called Top Tactical Intelligence. We're from London. This year we've hit our 10-year mark as a SaaS provider. We provide the software platform Presto PDCA. Over the years, it's evolved, it's pivoted in function, but one thing that's always stayed true has been its task management, KPI management features, which you're going to see today. These are still our bread and butter features. So to give you a little context for those of you that don't know the software, what I like to kick this discussion off talking about what makes a company performative. How does a company become a growth-focused company? And basically, when you compare performance to ambition, the differences between being disorganized and organized. So if you have a lot of ambition, but you're a disorganized company, you can see you're spending a lot of time fixing the business or stabilizing the business. And keeping that in mind, you obviously want to make yourself more organized so that you can become an optimization-focused business at the very least. So you're running the company, you're running the business. And here's where we're talking about standardizing processes, standardizing the way you do work, and keeping people focused to a set cadence, preferably daily when possible, so that things are constantly being reviewed and getting better. At this point in time, if you build this type of foundation, you're now looking to become a growth-focused business. You want to transform your company where you want to grow your business. So today, you're going to get a nice discussion from Catherine, who's going to talk to us about integrating standard work into your daily business culture. And we're going to speak with Chris about how to identify mid and long-term strategic goals and cascade those down to the ranks so that you can keep people busy, making the company better, increasing value. I like using this quote right here when I speak about our platform, Presto. Now that we're hitting our 10-year mark, people often ask us, what does Presto do? And it does a lot of functions in the operations world. But at the highest level, if you had to give your elevator pitch, what I like to use this quote from Theodore Roosevelt saying, great leaders choose the right people for the job and then stay out of their way while they're doing it. And what this means is that you want to be able to harvest, the energy and the talent of your workforce. And the best way to do that is to let them try for themselves and discover for themselves what they're good at, while being a coach, while being a mentor, while staying back, letting them get their hands-on experience to allow them to learn by falling forward. But of course, the more responsibility you have, the more risk your business has, the more difficulty and nervousness and stress that you're going to absorb as a leader. And it's not always that easy to let people go. And you know that for those of us that have managed teams, we all know that there is a time and place for everything, including micromanaging, where you really need to get your hands on and figure out why things aren't going the way you want. So Presto lets you put your company in a position to focus on governance, a word that, in my opinion, hasn't really been given the credit it's due the last 10, even 20 years, where information was scattered and fragmented. Now that companies are starting to understand the real value of going digital, governance becomes their fastball, for lack of a better word, saying this is our way to keep the company focused, keep people working, harnessing their talents while staying at the top and keeping our finger on the pulse and knowing when to get to that deep level that we need to get to and when to stay out of their way. So for what I'm going to show you today in our platform, how to run the company, fix the company, and change the company activities and manage them on a dashboard from both action plan management and performance and KPI management. So this is our solution. It's now being used multiple countries, multiple industries, and you can see what it does. It allows team leaders and process owners to put the company's value, put the company's current state in the hands of the people that need to see it, so they can make the decisions while the business operations continues to go forward without disturbance. So that's my introduction, and I now hand this over to Catherine, who's going to speak about standard work. Hopefully you're still with us, Catherine.
Yes, hi Andrew. For some reason I can't get the video to turn on, but that doesn't matter. Everyone could see this your screen there anyway, so it's fine. So yeah, I'm going to talk to us through a little bit about the importance of leader standard work, because when we first started talking about, what you do, Andrew, what your company does, but in general, the importance of organizations, as you said, not just performing, that's important, but also, optimizing to get to that, and then stability being such a huge part of that as well. We started talking about how organizations, so many have they write the strategy, but then so much of that work is wasted because the strategy doesn't then convert into work that's done every day by the people working in the organization. And that's really what this whole concept of Hoshin Kanri is. For those that don't know about it, it's really simply the way in which the organization's, let's say, big goals turn into day-to-day actions. So how do we do that? I think we do that through, first of all, through leader standard work. And a very simple way to look at that is it's really about the work that leaders do every day and every week and every month consistently. So it's really about their habits, not just their behaviors. So if you can go to the slide there, there's a very wordy slide in front of you. I wouldn't worry about too much about what's in that. What I want to show you is just a few points from the slide in front of you. So what you see there is a schedule, Monday to Friday. And this is an example of a leader standard work that I did with a group of foremen on an electrical engineering company. And just to say, before we went into creating their leader standard work to support Hoshin Kanri, we went through an extensive coaching program where the leaders really learned what it is to be lean. They learned about what leader standard work is, what coaching is. So they learned about all these things before we created their leader standard work. So when it came to creating their leader standard work, it was really about, well, what are the things that you need to be doing every day or on a Monday or on a Tuesday, or how many times a week and how many times a month, in order for the organization to be focusing on the right things and for the people to be doing the right things every day. So what we did when we were creating this is very simple. We get together. This is something that is created with leaders, with frontline leaders, with supervisors, with managers. And it's something that they sit down to work out and then practice. So we follow plan, do, check, our study, adjust when we are creating our leader standard work. And one of the things that I always do when I'm creating leader standard work is I bring in the use of KPIs and the use of digitization, because that's the world we live in now. So for example, I'll just give you an example of every Monday, 7 to 8, the foremen decided and agreed that, yes, it's really important for them to have that first hour to themselves, planning their day and understanding the priorities for that day and also for that week. So that is where we brought in the discussion of, well, how can we use our KPIs to do that? And how can we use digitization to do that? And that's where then they figured out, well, what do I actually do within that hour? Because it's very easy to say, make a plan, and not every manager and leader understands how to do that or the best way to do that using digital tools and KPIs. So from then on, if we look at the rest of their day, we went into 8 o'clock to 8:10. That was their morning huddle. We again looked at, well, are we bringing KPIs, our key performance indicators, into the morning huddle to share with the team? Are we talking about what needs to happen in line with KPIs? So in terms of costs that need to be monitored that day, or what needs to be delivered on target that day. So are we using our data, our KPIs? And then throughout the day, we have in there Gemba walks, we have problem solving with the team, we have one-to-one check-ins, and we have our evening huddle, we have some reporting in there, and we have the evening huddle and plan for tomorrow. So at each point in the foreman's week, what they did was they actually learned not just how to create a schedule for themselves, but how to use KPIs, how to use digital tools, and how to use leadership skills at each task that involves them. So that was what we did for that, to actually create that leader standard work. And if you just go to the next slide then, Andrew, if you can, please. I just want to make sure that people understand how you create this leader standard work, because it's a lovely fancy looking document when you come to the end of it, like we just showed you, but there's a lot of work that has to go in properly in order for this to be a tool that's really, really effective. So the first step is to understand the current work, really understand how leaders are current and managers are currently spending their time. So in our coaching sessions, there was quite a bit of work to be done to actually get people to monitor what they were doing, to help them understand, well, what do I need to keep and hold on to? What do I need to improve? What do I need to eliminate if I'm actually going to be working and doing other things as standard? So how do I make room for what's important and not just get caught up with what's urgent? Then we had to identify the key activities. So everything you saw in the schedule previous, so all of the Gemba walks, the site walks, the huddles, the reporting, all the things that were important, the key activities, we had to really understand and coach and train people in those before we put them into a schedule. Then we created the ideal schedule. Now, this is very important because a lot of leaders and managers, they're not just going to change what they're doing overnight in order to support how they're working. So often we are creating the ideal schedule, then we're creating the realistic schedule, and we are slowly moving towards the ideal from the current or realistic schedule. And that actually happens through coaching and mentoring leaders and frontline supervisors to help them understand what needs to change week to week in order for them to change their behaviors and habits. So what you'll find is when we do all of that week to week, people will actually not just be looking at their ideal and their current leader standard work, but they'll also have a development plan for themselves to help them. It might be increased delegation. It might be even just reduce the time they're spending on manual tasks through AI, whatever it is, they're creating their development plan and they're working on those actions to help them get to their ideal schedule. And then on a PDCA basis, we are tracking, we are reflecting, and we're getting feedback from our teams, really important, to help the leaders and managers understand if what they're doing now is actually having an impact and a more positive impact than what they were doing before. So that is the 6 steps to creating the leader standard work that you just saw on the previous slide. And it does not happen overnight. And it does take many, many months for this to actually be put in place and to work effectively. So Andrew, I'll leave it over to you. I can't see any side panels here, so I'm not sure if there's any questions on that.
No questions in the chat yet. I was going to say, thank you very much. That's excellent. If nobody has any questions for you at the end, I'll definitely have some. So,
okay.
By the way, you might be able to turn on your video. I was fiddling around with it. So,
okay, I will check that out. Yeah.
Okay, so that was Catherine. Thank you very much again. And now I'm going to turn this over to Chris, who's going to talk to us about capturing strategy at the senior level and cascading it down to the ranks. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Catherine. I really enjoyed that. That was really good. So let me talk about Hoshin Kanri for 10 minutes then. So if you go on to the first slide then, please, Andrew. So what we have here then is quite a standard diagram that explains how strategy fits together for any organization. And it starts at the top. You have the vision. This is where we want to be in 5 years' time. This is our aspiration. That's underneath is then the mission. It's who we are and what we do. And then we talk about some key result areas. I'm doing some work with pharmaceutical clients at the moment. We talk about safety, quality, delivery, cost, and people. So it's broken into those areas. We then want to understand what our longer term strategic objectives are. The 3 to 5 year longer term objectives might be to achieve 100 million turnover in 5 years' time. And then we have the annual objectives for the year, which might be get us from 50 to 60 next year, as an example. The priorities then, sometimes this is called priorities, sometimes it's called initiatives. These are the groups of activity that help deliver the objectives. And then below that, you will then develop the actual delivery plans themselves to help deliver the priorities or initiatives that deliver the objectives and so on. All of this needs to be linked to some KPIs. We need to understand whether the work that we're doing is having the desired impact. I like to use the term target to improve. So if we're at 50% delivery at the start of the year and our target to improve wants us to get to 80 by the end of the year, you can track a path between the two and your project should help you achieve that. And of course, everything that you do then is underpinned by the values of your organisation. So a general diagram, but used by many organisations. So the next slide then, please, Andrew. So looks like when I transferred it to you, it went a bit wonky, so apologies. But what I'm trying to say here is the reason that we do Hoshin Kanri and the reason that it's so important is that it's the process of involving the teams and involving more people in the process. So on the right, apologies, some organisations, somebody, the boss at the top of the organisation will define, what the strategy is going to be. The senior leadership team at number 2 might translate it. They'll measure it at number 6 and go, boss, it didn't work, we didn't get there. And the reason for that is nobody has involved the operational levels or further down the organisation. So we're trying to take out that break between the middle and the lower layers and involve as many people as you can do in the process of developing the strategy and developing the approach and the projects and the initiatives, because people that are involved in developing those will be more inclined to actually take part and try and deliver them. So on to the next slide then, please, Andrew. So this is a standard diagram for Hoshin Kanri. If you Google the term, this diagram will appear many times, I'm sure. What it's showing here really is that the process is in 2 parts. So the first part is the planning process, and this is where we use the catchball process to take the vision and then develop it downwards to 3 to 5 year objectives, develop it further to annual objectives, and then to deploy those objectives through the projects and the initiatives. The next slide then, please, Andrew. Practically how this works is that you have series of meetings between different layers within the organisation. So in this example here, at number 1, you'd kick it all off with the senior leadership team and you would develop the draft objectives for the year. Then you go down to the layer below and you would then sit down with the 6, 8, 10 teams within the organisation and offer them the opportunity to look at what's been said by the SLT. Do they believe in it? Do they have any challenges? Do they think something's been missed? And have their part to say in how their team might be able to contribute. At number 3, you go back to the SLT and say, this is what the team said. Here's some feedback. Here's some new things. Here's some things that should come out. Back at number 4 again, then you sit down with the teams again. And then finally at number 5, you've got your plan signed off for the year. So that's why it's called catchball. It's that passing of the objectives and the priorities and the strategy, in effect, between layers in the organisation to make sure that everybody's bought in and everyone agrees. The next slide then, please, Andrew. This is the part that gets missed. So a lot of organisations are really, really good at building a strategy. Very few or much less are actually any good at delivering it. So this is where you have to have a robust execution. You need a level of governance. I always recommend you use plan, do, check, act, the same as Catherine was talking about earlier. And you need to have a process of delivering those objectives, delivering the projects that are associated to them, measuring the KPIs to see that it's working, monthly reviews, annual reviews, and maybe even quarterly reviews as well. And this very often ties into your financial budget setting process and also your personnel objective setting process, so goals and objectives for your personnel for the year as well. It all should align. The next slide then, please. This is the reverse of the catchball in effect. So at number 5, it's January the 1st, it's the start of your year. At number 6, the teams go and deliver for the first month. And at number 7, you have the first governance session. How did we do? Are the projects on track? How are the KPIs looking after month 1? Any issues, any risks, and all that kind of thing. Number 8 is month number 2. Number 9 is the second governance session. Robust governance, making sure that you're looking at the right things, you're asking the right questions, and you're making sure the process is working. And then the next slide is just an overview, really, of the next one, that's it. So this slide here really is just an overview of a generic timeline, really. So if you were starting to launch this on the 1st of January, you want to start looking around about August, September at the latest, really, for the start of the workshops, and then you run the catchball through September, October, November. And the aim really is to leave yourself by the end of November. The month of December is really that mobilisation phase of we have a strategy, we know what we want to do, We need to finalize our governance. Do we need a PMO or a TMO? Are we going to use a piece of software like Presto, or are we going to use a spreadsheet or Smartsheet or something? I'd recommend Presto, obviously. But that's just really a bit of an overview of how it all looks, and a sort of generic timeline that you can follow. And finally, I just thought I'd share a little bit of a case study, really. So a client I'm working with, as we're coming towards the end of their first year of trialing this. At the start of the year, we identified 4 longer-term strategic objectives and 8 annual objectives. There were 14 initiatives and there were 79 projects. I guess a point here is that whenever you do this initially, you will always find way too many projects. I think Elena would support me on that statement. It's natural when you do this as an exercise. This client in particular here, we started with 180 and we prioritized it down to 79. And even at that stage, we wondered whether it was going to be too much. But actually, we're about 5 weeks from the end of the year. We are forecast to close 60 of the 79 projects. And the ones that are going to be carried over are ones that we knew at the start, because they are 2 or 3 year projects. They are longer term activities. So massive success just through driving the process and getting the buy-in of the team that's delivering it across all levels of the organization. And then at the bottom of that, really just a few KPIs to demonstrate. Their lost time incident rate and their total recordable incident rate has dropped massively. They've improved right first time by 8% and on-time delivery by 10%. So even in the first year, in quite an immature process, really, and it will evolve as we go into year 2 and year 3, there's been some massive successes for the team where I'm working currently. So that's it. So happy to take some questions at the end once Andrew's finished. But thank you for allowing me to share that with you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for your time, and thank our client for giving you an hour of their time to do this webinar. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'm going to touch upon the Presto dashboard and try to cover most of the topics we've just spoken about. Of course, those of you who are already users know that the product's very robust. So obviously, if you want to learn more, if you see a new feature today that you haven't seen in a while, you want to know more about, of course, you can reach out and we'll be happy to make some time with you. So just going back to our run, fix, change the company performance chart that we're thinking about today, what we want to do now, we want to get all our activities grouped into these 3 categories: run the company, fix the company, and change the company. So one of the key founding pillars, or should I say, yes, founding pillars of Presto from the beginning has always been your operating model, organizing your company. And Steve Jobs is saying the best way to innovate, sometimes the best way to innovate a company is just to organize yourself differently. And Presto gives you that opportunity, because as you build your company, and this is our simulation company for today, it's called PharmaGen, based on fictitious pharmaceutical manufacturing companies. We have our company organized. There's our org chart, and what we want to see when we're looking at our dashboard, we want to see our company organized vertically, so you can see all your direct reports, and of course zoom in or zoom out, roll things back up. So the Presto gives you this opportunity to navigate your company to the lowest possible level. Going back to our quote from Theodore Roosevelt, saying, give people the space they need to do their work. This is the start. This is the start in allowing you to do that, because as people are working, you can see things from the bird's eye view, and if some things start going in a direction that you didn't, that are unfortunate, you now have the possibility to zoom in before you start operating. So here we are on the dashboard. Immediately you see your activities are broken down into 3 categories. There's our run the company activities or standard work. There's where we're fighting fires in our issues. And in the 3rd column, you see our strategic projects, the projects that Chris and his team are pushing forward to tie to their Hoshin Kanri. And at this point in time, you might want to flip your view and say, give me this, but in PDCA view. And here you are looking at all of those same activities, this time according to Plan, Do, Check, Act. And of course, before you do anything, it needs to be authorized, it needs to be approved, it needs to be acknowledged, depending on what kind of activity it is. If it's an issue, yes, it needs to be acknowledged, and sometimes it needs to be acknowledged immediately. If it's a project, it needs to be approved, might have to go through a special approval channel. But once it gets approved, you're in the plan phase, and now you're going down to that next level, engaging team leaders to start doing what they do best, and that's managing the company's resources to plan for the future and to execute on what their objectives are. So here's where you get that PDCA view. And then from there, what you want to do, if you want to zoom in, you can now say, okay, we got a lot of activities on this board. Let's go down even further. So I'm going to click on this all button in Binoy Mohan's product development team, where you can see he has a lot of activities and a lot of different phases, a lot of activities that are delayed, coming soon, or on track, and we want to get a better understanding of what those are. So when you click on that, you get a nice PDCA view where you got your projects or your activities or your standard work checklist listed for you like this, and immediately you know where projects have been approved. And this is where the directors have, in most situations, have worked. They're saying, okay, we have an activity, but the person that needs to tick this box and turn it to blue, which in the Presto world means complete, are probably, in most situations, directors. At that point in time, your activities go down to the middle management and the team leaders who are now planning. They're putting your resources on the line. They're figuring out who's going to do what and when and with which tools. And at that point in time, according to Theodore Roosevelt, they get out of the way and let the staff do what they do best, and that's execute on their processes. And that's what you can see here. You can see this activity number 3, product update news page. It was due on the 12th of February, and it's red, it's delayed. So at some point, we're gonna want to go even further just into that one and figure out why. But of course, as activities go through the PDCA cycle, we have team leaders again getting involved in the check phase. And finally, you have directors, in most cases, getting involved again to celebrate success, to capture and identify lessons learned, and above all, communicate those lessons learned throughout the company. How many times have you been in an organization where some team or a department goes through an amazing growth experience, but at the end of it all, as soon as things start working, everybody disappears to go fight the next fire, and a ton of information is now lost and not shared with other departments, other sites, other regions, other offices. And that's where the ACT phase can really help you put that framework in place to make sure directors know it's not just their responsibility to execute on their processes, it's their responsibility to think of the company long-term goals and share information so that the company becomes more flexible, more resilient, more nimble. So let's jump into the system. We'll do an example. We have the head of customer service. She has an operational issue. She's saying, we see a rising trend in late responses to patient inquiries, leading to decreased satisfaction and risk to our service commitments. So what I'll do now, I'm going to jump on the dashboard. So here we are. Now I've logged in as Steve Jobsy. There's my login ID, as you can see. And I got this set up. So when I land in list view. So every activity that's in my span of control, whether it's assigned to me or somebody below me, I can see here. Now, this is obviously can get pretty hefty for someone at the top of the company. So the first thing I might want to do is switch to the PDCA view. Now you can see there I am. There's Steve, there's Frankie Figures from finance, Richard Chaching from revenue, and here's Sergio Maxspeed from operations. We're going to spend our time in there because that's where our customer service team is. And what I'll do, I'll just jump to the org chart, and you can see immediately, there's Sergio. If you want to see his complete span of control, you got some buttons over here. Excuse me, I got the zoom. So you can see there's his complete team. We're going to jump to Clara Doswell from customer service. There's her team, and at this point in time, I'm going to say, let's jump straight to her team. Now, I could navigate to her team directly from here by clicking the arrows, or I can just take this shortcut and jump to the dashboard. So now you can see here we are on Clara's dashboard. She's currently has 3 issues, no standard work, no projects. And at this point in time, we want to log an issue onto her dashboard. So nice and easy, I'm just going to add an activity. what kind of activity is it? Is it standard work? Is it an issue? Or is it a project? And you can customize the names of these things depending on the language of your company, the terminology you use. We're going to say this is an issue. I'm just going to remind myself what her issue is. She's saying we're seeing a rising trend in late responses to patient inquiries leading to decreased satisfaction and risk to our service commitments. So she's going to say, I got an issue. Let's see if we can get this solved by the end of July. So she puts a due date there, absolutely high priority. It's suggesting a Kanban workflow and a KSF factor, or should I say SQPDC, safety, quality, people to recall. So in this case, we're going to say it's a quality issue. And now we're going to use our new AI bot to help us build the PDCA change cycle plan of activities. So she's going to say, sorry, I'm going to review this again. Rising trend in late responses. Please assist me in creating an action plan of 5 to 8 milestones, allowing my customer service team, just thinking on the fly, just so you know, to address a rising trend in patient inquiries, which are leading to, sorry, I'm jumping back again, decreased satisfaction and risk, decreased satisfaction with our customers. So it's a starting point to just get stuff down. So here's our AI bot. If I click this now, it's going to give me a proposed title. It's going to give me a proposed description. And of course, we can change these things. And then we're going to zoom in and we're going to see the actual action plan it's suggesting. So enhancing customer service response to patient inquiries sounds good. Develop and implement an action plan with milestones to improve customer satisfaction by addressing the rising trend in patient inquiries. So that's fine. I'm going to change the owner and actually assign it to her. So you can see there's me right now. It's giving it to my team. I'm going to say, let's give this to Clara. There she is. And now you can see she has multiple teams. Let's assign it to her main team here. So now you can see now she becomes the owner of the activity. And now let's create the activity. And immediately this gives us a potential PDCA action plan. So there's the title, there's the description. And now it's telling us obtain project approval, analyze patient inquiries, develop customer service improvement plan, implement customer service enhancements, evaluate customer satisfaction metrics, refine customer service processes. Now that's great. I'm going to add another one and just say share lessons learned with team. And that's not a do task, that's an actual act task. So I'm going to flip that. Now you can see here we got a RACI matrix, but we don't really have anybody assigned. So here we're going to say, well, she wants Penny and Eddie to be responsible. Frank's going to be consulted, and the COO himself, Sergio, should be kept informed in all of this. So we're going to, in the RACI matrix, we're going to put Penny, I think her name Penny LaBelle, there she is. The other gentleman is called Eddie. Still don't remember the names. I'm going to remove. Now notice how she was immediately put as responsible, Clara. We're going to keep her as accountable. And now we're going to put Frank as consulted and Sergio as informed. So Frank becomes consulted. Frank Recall, good name for customer service, and Sergio Max Speed. So here's our team to manage this issue. And we have a lot of inline walkthrough training features in Presto to teach people what the mechanics are, what the basics and the philosophy is behind a lot of these tools that many people still don't have experience with. So at this point, you can see we've got tasks, we've got a team, we've even got a time frame here. One thing I'm going to want to do, I'm going to cascade this RACI matrix down and just fine tune the tasks a bit. So I'm going to cascade this like this. And now you can see the owners. These are the actual responsible. Now the actual approval, we're going to give that to Clara herself. So I'm going to zoom into this task and I'm going to remove, this was the cascade. I'm going to remove these two people and put Clara. And I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to have Sergio, the COO himself, be responsible for sharing the lessons learned. He's responsible to do this because he has most visibility. And the reason I did all of this was just to show you how we can now interact with this team. But before I do, let's have a look at what this project looks like so far. So I click the Gantt chart and I immediately see what they're offering. Now let's imagine the refined customer service process wanted to go a bit more. So we'll take it to the end of August and you can see dates update directly from your Gantt chart, as you can see here. So we've built the task checklist, we've built the team, we've identified the due dates. And now at this point in time, we want to communicate the action plan to the team. We want to let them know this is coming and it's becoming official. So what we want to do, we've done the heavy lifting. Now it's time to get people on board and get them officially focused on this activity. So we're communicating. We do this via the Presto email push. So at this point in time, what I'll do is I'm going to sign off on the approval. So when I tick this, now I've set up the outcome to pop up with every tick box. Now you can turn this off or you can assign this only to high priority tasks. But if you want people to be forced to think, to be outcome focused and to give comments and notes, this is how you do it. So they can say, yeah, this task is complete. It met expectations, approved by Sergio and CFO today. So here's a note. And now I save it. And now you can see it. We've ticked that box. We're officially in the plan phase. And if I close that, you can see also we got a note in here. If I want to see that note, I would click it and I go straight to the notepad where all your notes start to build up. If I close this, you can see here we are. I'm going to flip this now to PDCA view in issues. And you can see it's probably one of these three because we're in the plan phase. I'll open that up. Here is our newest project right here. Enhancing customer service response. There we are, the plan needs to be closed by the 22nd of May. So let's open that up again and let's contact these people and say, all right, team, let's go. So, and what you can do, Presto will allow you to do all this communication super easy, super quick. So I push the mail. I'm now going to select which people in the project are going to get this mail. So I could select all of them, or in this case, I'm just going to send it to, actually, I need to send it to myself, who's not in the RACI matrix. So give me a second because I want to show you what it looks like. So I'll put myself in the RACI matrix, which is actually Steve. So I've logged in as Steve, and I'm going to, and now I'm going to, there I am. I'm going to send it to me, and I'm going to, let's imagine I'm sending it to everybody on the team. And I'm going to say, ask for a status update, give me a confirmation on the deadline, give me a confirmation on the percentage. I'm going to say, hi team, this is kicking off next week. Please give feedback. Thanks. Sign as Steve. There I am. So I tab, and now I'm going to send this. And what you're officially doing now, we've created a task list. We've created a team time frame. We've identified the tools. If we wanted to add documents or links to documents, I would put those here. For the sake of time, we won't do that. Let's go take a look at what things look like in my email box. So now you can see immediately, hopefully immediately, there it is. There's the name of our issue, Enhancing Customer Service Response to Patient Inquiries. You can see it's an automatic mail coming from Presto, but Presto users know it's not automatic. Somebody sent that to me. And as soon as you open it up, or you open it up on your phone, you see a picture of the person that pushed it to you. And I didn't put myself in any of the task RACIs. Otherwise, if I did, you would have seen it highlighted what my RACI responsibilities are. But now here's our task list. There's the due date. There's the responsible party. So at this point in time, they can send an update on their task just by clicking this button. And this works on laptops as well as on your handheld. So if you open up this up on your handheld, you see Steve is asking you for an update. He's asking you for notes, task status, expected due dates. And what they can do, they can come here and they can tick boxes, they can give notes, and then click this submit button, and it goes straight back to the Presto dashboard. So this has been a very revolutionary feature that we found very helpful in getting teams to become more RACI PDCA focused, in enhancing, increasing sense of urgency and sense of accountability. So again, if this is an interesting product or feature you want to use in your company, feel free to call and book an appointment with us. So, hold on. We're going to do one more little mini demo, and then we'll take questions. So the last piece, whoever has the mic on, please put yourself on mute. So execution is the job of the business leader. So at this point in time, we've got a machine that's allowing us to manage tasks and projects, issues, standard work. Now it's time to manage performance via KPIs. So going back to our process of governing business operations, we're speaking about, in this first column, we're speaking about identifying your Hoshin Kanri strategic objectives, cascading them down. So what we have here, we have setting targets, agreeing objectives, what Chris was speaking about. In the middle, in the daily routine, we have your process owners, team leaders, carrying out daily work, capturing KPIs, feeding back to their manager, who then feeds back to them to constantly improve their processes. But in the midst of all this, you're reporting your KPIs, and on a weekly basis. So this is where Catherine gave a very good in-depth 360 view of what standard work is all about. That's what you see over here. And now what we're going to do from a governance point of view is where we review these KPIs. Now this is the model that Chris and I have been using for quite a few years with clients, where you have a weekly governance process or a monthly governance process, depending on exactly what the topic is. But for business operations, at minimal, it should be weekly. So here's where your COO is usually chairing a call, asking people to present their KPIs. So we got the COO reviewing a KPI boulder chart. You see people getting actions assigned to them, and then they take those actions away and they follow through, and then they report on those actions in the next weekly meeting. And that's where Presto really becomes your partner to retain knowledge, spread know-how throughout the company, and make sure everybody's aware of responsibilities regarding action plans that are aimed at increasing performance. So keeping that in mind, now we're going to jump to the KPI dashboard. So we were looking at the task dashboard. Now looking at the KPI dashboard. Our first objective is to just make sure our KPIs are grouped in the SQDCP framework, as you can see here. Our second objective is to get your company using a bullet chart. And this bullet chart is phenomenal, not just in middle and senior management forums, but just in the daily forum. If you're tracking people's hours or lead KPIs, daily huddles, these bullet charts, whether they're showing you daily, weekly, or monthly data, are optimal to get people to understand where things are going. So this bullet chart can help you take things forward. And then as you start seeing that your certain performance is not going in the direction that you want it to, directly from the bullet chart, you can access Pareto charts built into each KPI, teaching process owners the art of root cause analysis. And that's what you see here with product info complaints. 33% of them are due to labeling clarity. 27% of them are due to training and knowledge gaps, and so forth. What else does Presto offer? As a KPI tool, it allows you charting. So let's jump in the system again. Here you have the head customer service needs an annual chart for 2025 showing customer complaints. So what I'll do now, let's jump to the KPI dashboard. I promise I'm going to make this very quick so we can spend some time doing some questions. So here we are, and now I'm going to open this up and immediately, actually, let me close this. Let me access a special report that I built here, customer satisfaction reports. Open this up. You can see immediately, here we are looking at our monthly customer satisfaction committee call that Clara chairs, and she goes through this performance. Let's take this back and let's take a look at activities for last year. So I'm going to change the date to January 2025. And now you can see here's how each of the customer satisfaction KPIs fared. So we got our customer satisfaction score for Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and North America. Here we have customer complaints that are related to product information. Here we have customer complaints that are due to delivery. So if you wanted to actually build yourself a graph very easily, you can just come here on the fly and say, let's do a graph on product info complaints. So at this point in time, let's say, well, what is our expectations with product complaints for product info? So let's get an area chart, and immediately you can see this is our target. Now I'm just showing the target. Oh, excuse me. Let me put January 25 through area. Let's do a cumulative target. Excuse me. This makes more sense. So for the year 2025, you can see we want to stay in the green month by month. Those are our targets. At this point in time, let's see how we actually did. So I'm going to show our results. Let's do results cumulative. And now I'll look at that again. So you put this, and we got a nice feature that our clients push us up for all the time, is the note feature. So I'm going to say, let's put product complaints. Let's imagine that this was for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And this nice note feature, you can just put like this, and then you can move these things around. And what happens is you can project these charts. You can save this chart as a live template and then project it someplace, or in a cycle, a carousel of charts, or what most clients do, they just print this out and put it in their Obeya room. So there's that one. Let's do another quick one. I need a bar chart showing the total month-by-month complaints by complaint type. So in this case, what we can do here, let's take a look at these two in bar chart in a stacked bar chart. So what I'll do is I'm going to take both of these. I'm going to say, give me a stacked bar for January 1 through 31 December. Try that. And now you can see here's our complaints per month in a stacked bar chart. That can be very useful. Here she wants to know which KPIs are underperforming in the last 6 months. So this is a very unique feature that the users find super useful. So if you take a look at the dashboard, you can actually, what you see here is the last result. We have 2 healthy results. There they are. We have 3 that are in watch. And if I want to open them up, that's the last result. The last result they had was yellow. In this case, we're not really interested in that. I'm interested in the average for the last 6 months. So now you see those colors change because it calculates the average. And when we open this up, you can see there's my average. So for the customer satisfaction score North America for the last 6 months, and there they are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, has averaged 83% yellow. So there's where you're starting to really see where things are trending, what trends are real, what trends need to be addressed. I use this all the time with my team and our own KPIs. So those are some of the reports that help you, but here's how you can actually get those bowler charts up and running in record time. As Chris, he asked me to support a new client last week, and he sent me some KPIs, and my team had them up on the dashboard in a bowler chart within a couple hours, and then he went and made a really good impression, showing 10 people 25 or so KPIs that they're now responsible for. And what happens when you assign somebody a KPI? Here you have Sergio saying, please remind everybody I need to have the KPIs updated by tomorrow because we have our weekly committee meeting on Friday. So what you can do from here, let's just jump up to the top of the company. We're looking at all the KPIs in the company here. Let's go even up to Steve's level. And here's all our KPIs. At this point in time, I'm only interested, I'm going to remove that filter. I'm only interested in these 8 KPIs that have overdue figures. So I click on that. I'm going to open that up, and now you can see immediately. Let's put this in a monthly view to make it easier. You can see here we have number of assembled defects. We had 25, and for June we had 101. There's pending items here. So this person here, Sergio Maxpeed, he needs to put numbers in there, and you can do so directly from here if you want to work in Presto. So you can see we had 99, we had 87, 99, 109, 21. 87, 98. So you can see here I'm updating the bowler chart, and now it brings me to the next one. You see that dotted line is telling us you got one result in there, but it's still missing a result for the 15th of November. And now I'm going to say, okay, on the 15th of November, product delivery complaints, I'm going to say we had a total that week of 12, and I'm going to come here. Actually, let me make that number bigger to make it a bit more grave. Let's say, imagine we had 54. Sorry, let me make it a bit smaller, 45. Okay, 45 is red. And I'm going to come here, I'm going to put a note and I'm going to say machinery down. And here's where I have my root cause. It's already assigned to the KPI owner. So tell us, was there a late delivery? He might say there were 2 late deliveries. There were 23 incomplete or short shipments, and there were 23, I'm going over the number. I'm just gonna leave it like that. There are 2 order entry errors. And from there, I'm going to save that. And now you can see I've updated that. So that's the easy way to update KPIs from the dashboard. But the super easy way, and this is how you can get your team involved, and they don't even need to become experts of the software, is to just push them an email the same way I did for my tasks. In this case here, I'm going to push the report to all of these people that have open KPIs. So you can see these are the people here. And of course, in this case, I'm just going to push it to me so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to say, hi guys, please get your KPIs updated for end of day tomorrow. Thanks, Steve. So there I am. I'm going to send this to them. And now you'll see in my inbox again, I get a nice email. I refresh it, give it a couple seconds. There's my, KPIs sometimes takes a little bit longer than the tasks, but if it's not 30 seconds, it's no more than a couple minutes. And what's going to happen now, similar to the project management email, I'm going to get an email saying Steve has sent me something and he needs me to update it. And in the same look and feel user interface we're using. Did I send it to myself? I think I did. 2 more seconds. There it is. So do not reply, KPI listing. See, it takes a little longer because there's a PDF file attached as well. But you can see there's a KPI. And notice how it's only telling me the KPI where I'm in the RACI matrix. So what I can do now, I can click on that or update all KPIs. It opens it up and it's the product delivery complaints. You can see 1st of December, 15 November was 45, 1st of December, 1st January. It's just giving you the last 3 results, but it's asking me for the 1st of February. And I'm going to say here that there were 25 complaints. And it's yellow, so I might want to put a comment in and say, again, product misassembled 25 times. Of course, here's my root causes. If I want to flag for the Pareto chart. So here you're teaching even your staff members, even the most junior users, you're teaching them to give you a number and give you a root cause. And this is great even for something simple like tracking hours. How many hours did you work yesterday? And here you could put whatever you want, what projects they're working on, or you could actually say why you were out sick. You would put those listing here if you want to do things that way. So anyway, that's where I put my Pareto chart. And what happens from here, they submit it. And now you'll see in the system, if you're in the system, you're going to get a message that tells you there's some KPIs that need to be approved. And the approval panel, it's actually right here. And you can see there's my these are KPIs that people have sent. There's the one that I just pushed, product mislabeled, and you can see who sent it. There's the number. You got the comments in there. You got the result was 25. And all I have to do is select them and approve them. And now these KPIs are officially on the dashboard, letting you come back. If you take a look now, there's only 6 KPIs that are still overdue. So that is the demo for today. Went a bit longer, but I wanted you to see these features. I know a lot of you